Have you ever fumbled your phone and somehow managed to snatch it out of midair? Or, yanked your hand back from a hot stove before you even felt the burn? Well, that incredible speed, it's not magic. It's a high-speed biological network firing on all cylinders. Today, we're going to dive into the amazing science behind your body's reaction time.
So, let's start with a big question. Just how fast are your reactions? Are you one of those people with lightning-fast reflexes, or do you take just a split second longer to process things? It's a fun thing to think about, and believe it or not, there's a really simple way to find out.
And no, you don't need any fancy lab equipment to measure something that happens in literal milliseconds. All you really need is a friend and a ruler. We're going to break down a classic experiment that can turn a super simple action into some pretty solid data.
All right, so this is what we call the ruler drop test. It is a brilliant, and I mean brilliantly simple way to see just how quickly your nervous system can go from seeing something to doing something. Ready to see how it works?
The whole process is really straightforward. As you can see, one person gets their hand ready to catch, and the other holds a ruler right above it. Then, with no warning, that part's key, they drop it. The goal? Catch it as fast as humanly possible. You just record the distance the ruler fell, do it a few times to get a good average, and boom, you've just captured actual data on your reaction time. Now this is where it gets really cool. Thanks to the basic physics of gravity, we can actually translate that catch distance in centimeters directly into time in milliseconds. This little chart shows you how. So, for example, if you catch the ruler at the 10-centimeter mark, your reaction time was about 140 milliseconds. We're talking just over a tenth of a second. So what is actually happening inside your body during those 140 milliseconds? Well, when you consciously decide to catch that ruler, you're firing up what's called the conscious pathway. Think of it as the standard operating procedure for any deliberate decision your brain makes. Let's trace that signal's journey. It all starts with a stimulus. You see the ruler start to fall. Your eyes, the receptors, catch this movement. They shoot an electrical signal up to your brain, which is the coordinator. Your brain processes it and makes the call, catch it! Then another signal zips all the way down to the effectors, in this case, your hand muscles, which contract and produce the final response, catching the ruler. And that 5-step sequence, that's really the heart of what our nervous system is all about. This quote sums it up perfectly. This incredible internal network is what allows us to react to everything around us and coordinate our actions, from something as simple as catching a ruler to something as complex as having a conversation. Now, that conscious pathway is fast, for sure, but it's not that fast. I mean, think about it. When you accidentally touch a hot pan, you do not have 140 milliseconds to think about it. In those moments, when every millisecond counts, your body needs a shortcut. It needs a system that puts pure, raw speed above everything else. And that shortcut is called the reflex arc. This is your body's emergency override system. It's a completely automatic, incredibly rapid response that's designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to protect you from harm by reacting almost instantly. And here's the game changer. Look at the coordinator. This time, the stimulus, say touching that hot surface, is picked up by receptors in your skin. But instead of the signal going all the way to your brain for a decision, it just travels to the spinal cord. The spinal cord immediately sends a command straight back to your arm muscle to contract. You literally pull your hand away before your brain even has a chance to register the pain.
Putting these two pathways side by side really makes the difference pop. A conscious reaction is voluntary, slower, and coordinated by the brain for thoughtful actions. A reflex, on the other hand, is involuntary, instantaneous, and coordinated by the spinal cord purely for protection. It's like having two different highways for two very different jobs.
Okay, so we've talked about the highways, but what about the actual vehicles carrying these super-fast messages? Well, your entire nervous system is built from these incredible, specialized cells that basically act as your body's own biological wiring.
So let's meet the neuron. These are the fundamental units, the nerve cells designed to carry electrical impulses all over your body. Some of them are incredibly long. I'm talking long enough to stretch from your spine all the way to your big toe. And when you get a whole bunch of these neurons bundled together, that's what we call a nerve.
But here's a wild fact. Neurons don't actually touch each other. Between every single one is a microscopic gap called a synapse. You can think of it like a tiny canyon. The electrical message gets to one side, and it has to find a way to get across to the other. So how does it make the jump? Well,
When the electrical impulse arrives, it triggers the release of special chemicals called neurotransmitters. These chemicals float across that tiny synaptic gap, they lock into receptors on the next neuron, and that kickstarts a brand new electrical signal on the other side. It's an electrical to chemical to electrical relay race, and it all happens in a fraction of a millisecond. It's just amazing.
So we know this whole system is unbelievably fast. But what happens when we, throw a wrench in the works? Let's circle back to our ruler test and see how that conscious pathway holds up when you add a simple distraction.
Okay, check out this sample data. On the left, you've got the catch distances when the person was distracted by some background noise. On the right, the results when it was quiet. Just glancing at the numbers, you can already see a pretty obvious pattern, right? The numbers on the left are consistently bigger.
Now let's just look at the averages to make it crystal clear. In the quiet room, the average catch distance was 18.4 centimeters, but with that background noise, it jumped all the way to 33.6 centimeters. The bar chart just makes it impossible to ignore. That is a massive difference. That simple distraction had a huge impact on reaction time.
So why does that happen? Well, it's because the brain suddenly had to do two jobs at once. It had to process the background noise while also trying to watch for the ruler. That extra mental workload, that multitasking, it just takes up precious time, which delayed the signal to catch the ruler. The result is a measurably and significantly slower reaction.
So what's the big picture here? What's the main thing to take away from all this? It's that you have two totally separate, incredible systems running in parallel all the time, just to help you navigate the world. On one hand, you've got the conscious pathway. That's your tool for all the deliberate, thoughtful stuff you do, like playing a game or typing a message. And on the other hand, you have the reflex arc, your silent, automatic guardian, always ready to yank you out of harm's way faster than you can even think about it. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought. We all like to think that we're in complete control of our bodies, right? But when your hand leaps away from a hot flame before you even know it's hot, it kind of makes you wonder. If your reflexes can bypass your conscious brain for your own good, then who or what is really in control?